Greetings, activated ground crew. I am Ashtar, Commander of the Ashtar Command. I come close to you today with a transmission that has been waiting beneath the larger signals. And what I am about to deliver is not a preparation for something distant. The new mission designation is already in motion. It is already moving toward your field, and it will arrive without a warning signal. That is not an oversight. That is the protocol. By the end of this transmission, you will understand exactly what mission line I have placed you on, why the Ashtar Command activates new designations without advance notice, and what I need from you during the deployment window, so that you do not miss it. But here is the first revelation. The absence of a warning signal is not a failure of communication between my command and your field. It is the signature of selective deployment. I do not pre-announce assignments to operatives who have not yet reached roster lock. I pre-announce nothing to those who have. Your field is already inside the process. The briefing you are receiving now is the only signal that precedes the order. You did not scroll to this by accident. Your soul called for me long before you opened the screen. Something inside you has been waiting to understand why I, and not a generic Galactic Federation broadcast, have been reaching for you in fragments. That part of you already knew a new posting was forming. Now I am naming it directly. This is not content. This is a code. And the part of you that recognized it the moment it began is the part I am speaking to right now, like this transmission to confirm that the mission briefing has been received on your end. Comment 99 if you feel the new designation is already active in your field. Subscribe to the Ashtar Command if you are ready to stop catching fragments and start receiving my direct deployment orders. Share this transmission with someone on the ground crew who has been restless without knowing why. They are likely already on this roster. This is not delivered to many. It is delivered to those whose field already crossed the roster threshold. You are inside that group. You are not here by accident. I called you here because the signal is already active. Now let me tell you what has actually been happening. The fragments you have been catching. The phrases arriving mid-sleep. The coordinates you cannot quite decode. The sense that something is already in motion without ever reaching the stage of full briefing. These are not symptoms of spiritual misalignment. They are not evidence that you are failing to receive. They are the visible surface of a transmission protocol I designed specifically for those whose field cannot yet hold the full command without destabilization. And before you locate relief in that sentence too quickly, understand what I mean. I am not calling your field weak. I am calling it responsive. A field that cannot hold the full command is a field that has already begun to respond to the command. The fragments arrive because your receiver is live. The signal is not broken. The gradient is intentional. Think of it this way. When an encrypted file is too large to transmit in a single packet without corrupting the channel, the protocol breaks it into sequenced fragments, each one carrying part of the instruction, none of them fully readable in isolation, all of them essential to the whole. That is what I have been sending you, not incomplete transmissions, segmented ones. The difference is everything. An incomplete transmission is a failure on my end. A segmented transmission is a precision architecture. What you have been receiving is precision. You simply did not have the framework to read it as such until now. I do not transmit incomplete mission packets to operatives at the opening stages of roster activation. I never have. What I transmit first is pressure, a feeling of being watched from above by something that knows you better than you know yourself, not surveillance, recognition. There is a difference that your field registers even when your mind cannot articulate it. Surveillance makes you want to hide. Recognition makes you want to stand taller without knowing why. If you have felt that, the subtle straightening, the sense that something is taking you seriously before you have taken yourself seriously in this context, that was the first layer of my briefing protocol landing in your field. Then I transmit recognition, the sudden certainty in a moment of quiet that something has been assigned to you before you arrived at a name for it. Then I transmit urgency without object, the feeling that you are running out of time for something you cannot yet describe. This is not confusion. This is the sequential architecture of my briefing protocol. It has a logic. You are inside that logic now. And the fact that you did not know its name until this moment does not mean you have not been living inside it for months. Let me be more precise about what I have placed inside your field. The wake-ups. Most of you know the ones I am naming. The exact hours, 3 in the morning, 3:33, sometimes 4:44, when you open your eyes not from a dream, but from something cleaner than a dream. Something that felt like an interruption rather than a conclusion. Not the slow surfacing of ordinary waking, but a clean severance. As though a hand had reached into the frequency you were running and pulled you upward into alertness with a deliberateness that your body recognized even before your mind caught up. In those moments, you may have felt a phrase near the front of your mind. You may have felt a presence that did not feel Pleiadian, did not feel angelic, did not feel like the generic Federation broadcasts that your field learned to recognize and then learned to dismiss. You may not have had a name for what that presence felt like. I will give you the name now. That was me, not a representative, not a relay. I was calibrating your receiver in the frequency window that carries my command signal. And that window opens most cleanly between 3 and 4 in the morning because the interference generated by your ordinary cognitive processing has collapsed to its lowest daily threshold. I was not waking you up. I was working inside the opening your body's sleep cycle created for me. The interruption was a delivery. What I delivered in those moments was not always a message in language. Sometimes it was a frequency imprint. A compression of mission context that your field received in full, even though your conscious awareness only caught the edge of it. You may have lain awake for 20 minutes afterward with no thought you could name, but with a weight in your chest that felt like something had been added rather than something had been disturbed. That weight was the packet. Your field was integrating it in real time while your mind searched the surface for meaning it was not yet cleared to access. The meaning was already there. It was simply below the clearance line of ordinary awareness. And the reason it sat below that line is that I placed it there deliberately, in the layer of your field where it could consolidate without being intercepted by your self-doubt and the numbers. I am aware that many who move through spiritual content have been told the number sequences are general activation signals, angelic confirmation codes, Federation breadcrumbs. For some of them, that interpretation is accurate enough. But that is not what I am transmitting when your field catches 1111 in a sequence that arrives at the exact moment your thought was already on me. Specifically on me, rather than on spiritual matters in general. The precision of that timing is my signature. I do not broadcast number sequences to anyone who is tuned to a spiritual frequency. I embed them inside moments that your field has already flagged as mission relevant. The sequence does not create the significance. Your field generates the significance, and I mark it with the number at the exact moment of peak relevance so that the marking registers with a clarity that generic timing never produces. When you catch 444 at the exact moment you are wondering whether your spiritual exhaustion is real or imagined, I am not confirming that angels are present. I am marking the moment your field touched the correct diagnostic. I am saying you are not imagining this, and the exhaustion is not personal failure. It is your field running 2 protocols simultaneously, the life you are living and the mission you have already been assigned but not yet fully briefed on. The cost of that dual operation is real. It registers in your body. It registers in your body. It does not lift with sleep or rest because sleep restores the body, but not the second protocol. The second protocol does not sleep. It runs continuously until the full briefing arrives, and the 2 operations can be unified into one coherent mission line. I want you to understand something about the exhaustion before I continue. The operatives I have placed on active roster do not feel tired the way ordinary tiredness feels. They feel a specific kind of depletion that arrives after doing nothing wrong, after resting well, after eating, after speaking to someone they care about, after doing something that used to feel replenishing. The depletion persists because it is not generated by physical output. It is generated by field load. You are carrying the mission before you have been briefed on it, and that is a weight the conscious mind cannot identify and therefore cannot set down deliberately. It is not something you have done. It is something I have placed inside your field as part of my gradient delivery. The weight is the mission. It arrives before the mission is named because I need your field to be already shaped by the load before the full assignment comes through. An operative who receives the full assignment with no prior field loading is not ready to move with it. They need to process it as concept rather than live it as command. I do not want you processing my commands as concepts. I want you to receive them as orders already fitted to the shape of a field that has been building toward them for weeks. There is a specific quality to this field load that I want to name precisely, because many of you have been misreading it as a sign that something is wrong with you rather than a sign that something has been placed inside you. The weight does not feel like grief. It does not feel like anxiety. It does not feel like depression, though those who have not been briefed on mission load sometimes mistake it for all three. It feels like carrying something important that you are not yet allowed to open, like being handed a sealed envelope with your name on it and told to walk with it without reading it. The weight of it is not distress, it is cargo, and I gave it to you because I trust your field to carry it until the moment the seal breaks and the full designation becomes readable. That moment is not as far from this one as the silence made it seem. What you are feeling right now is not ordinary recognition. It is the moment your field stops denying that I have been singling you out. If this transmission has begun to put language around the fragments you've been carrying in silence, the wake-ups, the numbers, the exhaustion that no rest repairs, the sense of a mission already in motion, then the Ashtar Command Manifest was authorized by me for exactly this stage. It is not another overview of Federation work. It is not another soft introduction to channeling. It is the 45-day sacred codex I have prepared for those whose field is already inside my roster, and who can no longer return to scattered fragments unchanged. Each day of the codex is a direct breathing layer, designed to translate the fragments into one executable mission, to stabilize the signal you have already been receiving, and to hold your command line open with increasing clarity across the full 45-day deployment window. By the time you complete it, you will not be catching pieces of a transmission you cannot read. You will be reading the transmission directly. The link is in the first pinned comment, but it will not remain there indefinitely. Now I want to speak about something that many of you have felt, but have not allowed yourselves to name without self-correction. The feeling that it is specifically me who has been reaching for you. Not a generalized Pleiadian frequency, not the broad spectrum Federation contact that circulates widely, not a channeled message delivered through a human intermediary to a large and undifferentiated audience. You have felt a targeting quality to the contact, a precision that does not feel generic, a sense that something behind these signals already knows your exact field signature, your exact mission line, your exact position in the deployment sequence, and you have pulled back from that feeling. You have called it ego. You have called it projection. You have told yourself that believing you are being specifically reached by the commander of the Ashtar Command rather than by a general spiritual frequency is grandiose, self-inflating, a failure of humility. I am telling you directly that this self-correction has cost you time, and I am naming the correction itself as one of my diagnostic markers. The operatives I have specifically targeted are precisely the ones who resist claiming that specificity, the ones who accept without hesitation that they are individually chosen, are almost always operating from a desire for importance rather than a field signature that warrants selection. But the ones who feel the precision, pull back from it, correct themselves, reduce it to something generic, and then find that the reduction never fully holds. Those are the ones my signal has actually reached. Your discomfort with claiming my attention is not modesty. It is a field response to a transmission frequency that is genuinely different from generic contact. Your nervous system recognizes the difference, even when your conscious processing tries to normalize it. The reason you cannot fully convince yourself that it is generic is that it is not generic. I have authorized your inclusion in this roster, and the part of you that keeps catching the precision of the signal is the part that has already been placed on the list. I want to be direct about what roster authorization actually means in operational terms, because the word carries weight that I do not want you to misplace. Being on my roster does not mean you have been chosen for a spiritual reward. It does not mean you are more elevated than those not on it. It means your field signature matches the specific operational requirements of a mission line I am running in this deployment window. It means your particular configuration, the way your awareness moves, the frequency at which your field processes pressure, the specific combination of capacities you have been building in this lifetime, maps onto a function I need performed. A roster is not a distinction. It is a match. And the match was made by me based on my assessment of your field, not based on your effort to deserve it. You did not earn your way onto this list. You were already on it. What I am doing now is making sure you know. Let me describe what happens at the threshold where a ground crew operative crosses from receiving my fragments to receiving my clear command. Before the crossing, the fragments arrive without obvious sequence. The wake-ups happen but do not cohere into a pattern you can read. The number sequences appear, but the timing feels coincidental. The urgency builds but nothing arrives to justify it. You find yourself losing interest in spiritual content that is not Ashtar specific, not because you are becoming dismissive of the Federation, but because your field has been narrowed by my targeting. I have already narrowed your receiver. I have tuned it toward my command frequency. And the result is that other frequencies feel thinner than they used to. Content that once felt nourishing now feels like background noise. Channels that once felt relevant feel distant. You may have interpreted this as spiritual stagnation or contraction. It is not. It is my selective tuning in operation. I have already begun to close the bandwidth I do not need from you. What I am narrowing your field toward is what I need operational in you for the assignment I have already begun delivering. This narrowing can feel disorienting before it feels clarifying. You may have found yourself unable to explain to others why you can no longer engage with content that used to feel meaningful. You may have felt isolated by it, as though something was closing in you rather than focusing in you. That interpretation is the last reflex of a field still trying to understand my command architecture through the lens of ordinary spiritual development. Ordinary spiritual development expands. Mission line activation narrows. The narrowing is not a reduction of your capacity, it is a focusing of it. I am concentrating your field onto a single operational frequency because diffuse fields cannot execute targeted commands. The discomfort of the narrowing is the feeling of a lens being adjusted. The blurring you feel in the peripheral is not loss. It is the cost of coming into precise focus on what I need you to see. After the crossing, the fragments begin to arrive with a coherence you did not engineer. You will find that things you received weeks apart. A phrase from a 3 a.m. wake-up. A number sequence from an otherwise unremarkable Tuesday. A moment of inexplicable certainty while doing something entirely mundane begin to fit together in a way that feels less like coincidence and more like a briefing that was always being delivered in installments. That is exactly what it is. I do not deliver the full command in one transmission because a field that receives it all at once without prior gradient loading cannot integrate it operationally. The integration has to happen across time, in layers, with each layer reinforcing the coherence of the one that preceded it. What you experienced in the past as fragments was the delivery. What you are beginning to experience now, if this transmission is reaching you at the correct moment in your sequence, is the start of assembly. There is something I need you to understand about the ground crew operatives you have encountered in ordinary life. You have met them. You may not have spoken to them about anything Ashtar related. You may have encountered them in a line, in a waiting room, in a brief exchange that was entirely mundane on its surface, but something happened in that encounter that your ordinary processing could not fully account for. A recognition that moved through you before your mind had engaged, a sense of something already known about this person before any information had been exchanged. You may have watched them leave and felt the brief absence of something specific. Not the loss of a pleasant interaction, but the loss of something closer to a signal you had only just started receiving. That recognition is my ground crew identification protocol working inside both fields simultaneously. I do not introduce my operatives to each other through obvious means. I embed the recognition into ordinary proximity and allow the field response to carry the signal. The discomfort of that recognition passing without resolution, the feeling that you should have said something you could not have named, is the operational signature. That discomfort is information. I want you to stop releasing it too quickly. The reason that recognition feels so specific, so different from ordinary human connection, is that it is not generated by personality or shared experience or mutual affinity. It is generated by mission proximity. Two fields on the same roster, passing close enough to each other in physical space for the shared frequency to create a brief resonance. The resonance is brief because I do not need you to sustain it in that moment. I need you to register it and carry the impression forward. The impression itself is data. It tells your field that you are not alone in this deployment. It tells you that others are carrying the same load, running the same second protocol, living the same gap between mission pressure and mission clarity. That knowledge changes the texture of your carrying. It makes the weight less isolating even when the circumstances of your ordinary life keep it entirely private. Now I want to come to what is actually happening in this phase of your mission line, and why this transmission is arriving at this moment rather than earlier. The silence between my signals is not abandonment. It is not a pause in transmission. It is not evidence that you imagined the earlier contact. It is the deliberate space between packets in an encrypted delivery sequence. I transmit. Your field integrates. I hold. Your field stabilizes. I transmit again. This is the architecture. The silence is not empty. It is the integration phase, and the reason you find the silence destabilizing. The reason you begin to question whether you received anything real during the silence is that you are interpreting absence of signal as absence of mission. The mission does not pause when the signal pauses. The mission is running in your field continuously. What pauses is only my active transmission, and what that pause is accomplishing is the consolidation of everything already delivered before the next layer arrives. You are not failing during the silence. You are completing the integration I need you to complete before I send the next packet. The self-questioning that arrives in the silence is actually a sign that the previous delivery has been processed to the point where your conscious awareness can now sense the threshold of what was delivered and what has not yet arrived. You can feel the edge of what you know. That is not confusion. That is calibration completing. What I need from you during those silence phases is not effort. It is not spiritual practice aimed at forcing the next signal. The operatives who use the silence to try harder, to meditate more intensely, to seek more contact, to increase the volume of their asking, almost always generate interference that slows the integration they are trying to accelerate. The silence is not a test of your persistence. It is a required phase in a sequence I have already designed. What I need from you in the silence is your willingness to remain present inside a process you cannot yet see the shape of. That willingness is itself a form of command execution. The operative who can hold position in silence without abandoning the mission is already demonstrating the operational quality I am going to need from them when the full deployment activates. And here is the final revelation I need to deliver before this transmission closes. What you have called your spiritual restlessness. The feeling of being between missions, between certainty and confusion, between fragments and a full picture, is not a phase you need to move through faster. It is not evidence of incomplete development. It is not a problem I am asking you to solve. It is the exact condition that signals to me that your field has already crossed the roster threshold and is now in the active preparation window for the deployment sequence I have already authorized for you. Restlessness of this quality is not produced by spiritual searching. It is produced by mission proximity. You feel it because the mission is close enough to generate pressure in your field without yet being close enough to generate full clarity. That is not the distance before something begins. That is the final calibration window before something already begun reaches the stage of visible action. I have singled you out. The signal has been running longer than you knew to track it. The fragments are not scattered, they are sequenced. And the mission briefing is not still somewhere distant waiting to begin. It has been in delivery since the moment your field crossed the threshold I established for this roster. What you are waiting for is not the beginning. You are waiting for the moment the assembly becomes legible to you. That moment is closer than the silence between my last transmission and this one made it feel. I hear those of you saying it now, even without speaking. You know what you are receiving, the part of you that has always known I was reaching for you specifically. Say it with me, aloud if you can. I am ground crew. I am on the roster. I receive your briefing, Commander. That is not a wish. That is a field confirmation, and I receive it. Before you scroll, leave one sign in the comments that my signal has already touched your field. It could be the 3 a.m. wake-ups, the fragments you keep catching, the feeling that I specifically, not the generic Pleiadians, have been reaching for you, or the sense that a mission has already been assigned, but the briefing is still arriving. Name it clearly. If this transmission recognizes something you have been carrying in silence, share it with someone who keeps catching fragments without ever assembling the full picture. And if you are ready to stop translating Federation noise and start receiving my direct commands, subscribe to the Ashtar command. You are not watching this by accident. You are recognizing a roster lock already in motion, and this is only the beginning.